So about a week ago, I put out my video where I talked about how a lot of nerd spaces really don't like black people. Whether it's the anime community, the cosplay community, or even just like the online video game space, a lot of people in these communities don't like black people, are really racist, and really don't want black people to be anywhere near them or involved in them. And it was really cool that a lot of people who watched the video resonated with the message and were even in the comments sharing their experiences with dealing with a lot of these online nerd spaces.
So let me tell y'all one thing for sure. So I've been in a few nerd spaces here and there, and I can tell you, yeah, they definitely don't. They don't, but they do it in a very sometimes subtle way, and it also depends on how much. It depends on how many of them are around you. A lot of it has to do with proximity too. So if they feel like there's enough of them around you and you're like the token one, yeah, they're going to be way more open about that stuff. But if it's not and it's more of a mixed crowd, you're not going to see that.
Was scrolling through the comments, I realized that there's actually another experience outside of the racism that a lot of black nerds and honestly just nerds in general are all connected by. And it's really just the fact that growing up as a nerd had to be bottom 5 experiences of all time. Because in 2025, being a nerd is cool, it's trendy, you know, you're an interesting person, you're so cool if you have niche hobbies. Anime's popular, I mean, can you even consider yourself cool if you don't like video games? And on top of that, so many famous people are coming out expressing their love for all these nerdy things. But take it from me, at my old age of 23, I'm here to tell you this is a fairly new concept. Because before 2020, in the 2010s and below, I promise you nobody treated these nerdy interests like this. Because, okay, look, I can't speak for everyone, right? I can only speak for what I went through, but I'm black, right? Being a black nerd growing up was such a weird experience. Because from a very early age, a lot of the things that I were interested in wasn't that common with the people around me. Because when I say I was a nerd, that don't mean like I was just playing video games and watching anime. No, dude, like I was diving into the deepest icebergs of creepypastas.
Okay, now see this right here, that's valid. Now, admittedly, first of all, brother, I'm 10 years older than you. All right, so my experience is going to be a little bit different. However, what I can say is when I was into those things, I knew very quickly that I had to transition out of them if I wanted to be seen as part of the collective, part of the group. Like you couldn't be 100% only into this nerd stuff past a certain age, really.
My favorite things to watch on YouTube was Salad Fingers and Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Not to mention, I was heavily into nerdcore music, specifically The Living Tombstone. And for a young black kid growing up, telling your friends to watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared with you, or to listen to the newest Living Tombstone song, bro, it got you stared at in the weirdest way. And
see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have to go through that experience because I didn't talk to a whole bunch of people about things like that. Like, admittedly, by the time I got to high school, I was barely really doing a whole lot of the nerd stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I still played video games, but as far as just like watching a whole bunch of like TV shows and cartoons, I mean, I watched like a few things here and there, but I was nowhere near as much as I was into it when I was in like middle school.
Don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't have friends growing up. Like, I was social. I guess from like the outside looking in, I was normal, but it just kind of sucked at times because like I was really into these things. Like, I was really into video games. I was really into anime when anime wasn't considered cool. I was really into like a lot of these niche nerdy stuff growing up. I didn't really care about watching like Hannah Montana or like the live action stuff on Nick. I liked Cartoon Network over everything else. And a lot of just this niche nerdy stuff, like I would really spend most of my time, instead of watching like TV, I would watch YouTubers and things like that before YouTubing was considered cool.
Now, I will say this, as far as just having TV be my main source of thing that I watched, that stopped really, really early. I will say that once YouTube kind of became a thing, that was pretty much it. I knew immediately, like, hey, this is what I'm watching from now on.
And this would kind of lead to me having like different sets of friends. I would have like my few nerdy friends that had like the common interests as me. And then I'd have like my other group of friends that, you know, they didn't really have the same nerdy interests as me, but we liked other things. But I couldn't really talk to them about some of the stuff that were my hobbies or things I was interested in because they thought it was weird. And I feel like for black nerds, this was a real struggle because not only were the things that you were into considered not cool, but the people that look like you, the black people around you, they would say things like, oh, that's a white people thing? Why do you like that white stuff? Or they'll say like, that's not a black thing that you're into.
Now this is an experience that I can say that I did have. That's kind of going back to what I was telling you about with middle school. That's really why I stopped doing it. I said, bro, if I want to be part of the group for real, and not be getting like teased for real, I got to start playing football and stop playing tag and stop playing Beyblade. So that's what I did.
One thing about being a black nerd is that at my younger age, it was really hard to find other blurs around me. Like, I'll never forget kindergarten and second grade. I was like, everybody was into Pokemon, right? And in third grade, I finally got Pokemon cards and went to this dude. I was like, yo, Dylan, I got Pokemon cards. He looked me up and down, went, nigga, I'm in third grade. I'm too old for Pokemon cards.
This is valid, bro. This is really how it happened. And the crazy part is, I can't even really tell you who it was that made me start doing that. But somebody did.
Like, what? That was like the most earth-shattering thing for me, because I waited since kindergarten to finally bond with people with video games and Pokemon and all that stuff, and they started saying they're too old for it. At third grade, like, looking back, I still think it's ridiculous, but it shattered my heart. Like, it's not that I didn't want to connect with black people, but I didn't know any other blurbs that like Minecraft. And a blurb put me closer to whiteness, not because I wanted to hang out with white people, but I just wanted to hang out with like Minecraft.
And this is the problem, bro. This is why it's so important to have things like the dream cons, like the blurred cons. This is why they're so important.
And I kind of talked about this at the end of my other video, but half of the reason why I found out that there was so much racism in a lot of these nerd spaces is because I would go into them at a young age trying to find people with similar interests. And the only reason I was doing that was because there wasn't really any spaces for black nerds that had the same interests. Like, I remember in middle school, I was really into a lot of rock, a lot of pop punk. I was listening to My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco. And the amount of times I would try to put my friends on these bands and got told, bro, that's white people music, was insane. And
the really trippy part is when you realize, even though we all didn't talk to each other about it, we was all listening to this stuff anyway. Crazy.
when I say white people music, they didn't mean, oh, because those particular bands were white, it was white people music. No, they meant the entire genre, pop, punk, rock, anything in that category. Oh, it was only for white people. All for me to grow up later on and find out, wait, no, black people have huge contributions in these genres of music.
Never have I broke somebody.
How do you get the voice to do that? I thought that was just a white thing. I didn't know black people had it.
A lot of people don't know that black musicians pioneered punk rock music. Growing up in Atlanta, I got told only white people listen to it. But punk rock, pop punk, emo, and even metal are all built on the creativity of black people. Before the explosion of punk music in the mid-70s, there was a band called Death that laid the foundation for the punk sound. In the UK, polystyrene created the archetype for socially conscious rebellion in punk rock's underground. The band Bad Brains originally came together to make jazz and reggae, but their influence on rock music is present even today. And when they noticed they weren't getting coverage from places like BET, they were vocal about the fact that rock music was a product of black expression and creativity. If you're a black nerd, never be afraid to march to the beat of your own drum. Entire genres are a result of your unique rhythm.
And I don't really know how this goes for.
I didn't know any of that stuff, bro. Don't start me to lying. I mean, I knew that we got contributions in pretty much everything. I just didn't know any of the names.
A lot of other groups, but for black nerds, I kind of feel like this is a coming of age moment, the moment where you realize, hey, I'm not actually weird for liking these things. And in fact, a lot of those people that acted like I was weird for liking these things, they were secretly into it too.
That's what I said, bro.
I kind of feel like being told that you're not black enough is just kind of the black experience in and of itself. Like where I went to school, like sometimes we would just not talk about the things that we did that everybody didn't do. Like you come to school talking about Friday and the Parkers. You don't talk about Friends, even if you did watch it. Occasionally you let it slip out that you was watching Seventh Heaven. And somebody in the room might laugh, but they was watching it too.
The amount of times I got told
High key
by people my own age growing up, oh dude, why do you watch all those cartoons? That's so childish. But now that I have this animation channel and I talk about cartoons that I grew up on, I talk about current day stuff. Now all of a sudden everybody loves cartoons. All these people that told me, oh, watching cartoons is childish, now all of a sudden they grew up watching regular show in the
like it's valid and you're grateful for it, but at the same time you always remember
Amazing World of Gumball and all these Cartoon Network shows. When I tell y'all, me trying to get someone to watch an anime before 2017 was like me asking them to commit a crime. But now all of a sudden, oh, I got people hitting me up that I've known for a long time saying, yo, don't you talk about all the shows? Give me an anime to watch. What's one of those animes you like that I should start watching? And I think that's just really due to the fact that a lot of nerdy things or things that people consider nerdy growing up are really popular now. Like when I was in middle school and high school, the amount of people that thought it was so lame that I was into musicals, dude, I could count on multiple hands. But then you look at a show like Has-Been Hotel, an animated show with cringy internet humor and a complete musical soundtrack, like Broadway style soundtrack, and it's one of the biggest shows in the world. Like I said before, people used to think anime was so lame, and now when you look at some of the biggest performing movies out right now, a lot of them are anime films. The culture just kind of has shifted to where a lot of these things are considered cool by society standards now, and a lot of people are getting into them, whether they genuinely want to or because it's trendy. And if I'm
and they're being performative. We gonna talk about that later though.
being honest, I feel like this is kind of the case because it's an upside to being a nerd. Like, I feel like whether you grow up a black nerd, a white nerd, Hispanic, Asian, like just a nerd in general, I feel like because you were into all these niche, interesting things, and like you had all these hobbies or interests that weren't really that common, it kind of formed you into an interesting person. And as I get older, I tend to notice that people who grew up into weird things, they tend to become way more interesting than people who just towed the straight line.
Because you have a diverse background. That's all it is. You experience more things. We called them weird when we were kids because we didn't know how to verbalize that we really wanted to learn some of these things. So instead, people resorted to just teasing people.
Like, there was a trend that was going around on TikTok a couple months back called the "you need to nerd out" trend. And this trend really exposed in real time how many people are boring and have absolutely no interest. And I don't mean that in no mean way, but the trend originally started off with nerds using the sound and basically posting like a ton of things that they're interested in. So whether maybe they would post things like Wizard 101, they would post like video games, anime, certain shows they grew up on, but like keep it really nerdy. And it was just such a cool trend to watch because number one, you got to show off your interest, but number two, you might have seen somebody else's post and it would remind you of something that you were interested in that you might have forgotten about. Like, there was one girl who posted her trend and she had Alice Madness Returns, and dude, I was obsessed with this game when I found out about it. Like, the whole concept of a twisted wonderland and using Alice to fight through it, dude, it was the coolest thing to me. But I had forgot about the game and I never actually got to play it. I only got to watch playthroughs. Dude, the second I saw the game, dude, I went to Steam, downloaded the game, and I went and beat it. But the trend kept getting bigger and bigger, and once it got bigger, everyone started participating in it. And once everyone started participating, you start to realize, oh wow, a lot of people who did not in fact grow up nerds are kind of boring. In a trend where you're supposed to talk about things you're passionate about, things that you obsess over, things that you literally nerd out.
Alani, Taco Bell, Crumble Cookie, Taylor Swift, Dr. Pepper, Target. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna lie. Wow. Okay.
Over. We had people putting sleep, eating, Walmart, Chipotle. Like, what does that even mean?
You need to nerd out, and proceeds to put the most basic thing ever that everyone's already done that doesn't involve anything related to being nerdy. People are putting, Cane's chicken fingers, Target, Dr. Pepper. What the? That's not, what is that? Nerding out involves liking things that aren't conventionally liked by other people in society. For instance, well, not now, but it used to be anime, liking manga related stuff, the whole comics aspect. No, Brittany, going to Dunkin' Donuts does not make you a nerd.
Yeah, you're not nerdy for, oh my goodness. You know what? That is a really good point. If you do not indeed let yourself be you and be authentic, you will wake up one day and find you are boring and lame as fuck.
And no, Carol, walking your dog does not make you a nerd. I never thought it was possible to ruin a trend that badly. And then we have individuals just putting the most random things ever to just join the trend. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But you look at the other stuff that's on the screen, you're like, I think you straight lying. And the one that's the most prevalent that I've heard, liking Taco Bell is not a nerd thing. Everyone does that. Everyone has been to a Taco Bell. It is the United States. You all have lost the plot to this trend. You have. And you just ruined it.
And it kind of started this whole thing of like people commenting on these posts and being like, dude, I think you could have skipped this one out because you're not really a nerd. You don't really have any hobbies or interests. And you know, these people were defending themselves, saying things like, oh, well, you can technically nerd out about anything.
You technically can, but let's be real. You're not nerding out about Taco Bell. You don't. Do you have like Taco Bell shirts? Do you have a menu from Taco Bell framed on your wall from like the 80s? Do you have photos of yourself at Taco Bell every single year since you were like 5? That would be nerding out. Saying I like quesadillas is not. Man, listen.
And it's like, yeah, can you? But like, come on, dude, be for real. And look, I'm not saying anyone should get attacked for participating in trends or not. I'm like not condoning any of that. But one thing that I did notice that
I'm condoning it. Attack them. I'm playing GTA.
I thought was really interesting. It was very clear that the people who grew up nerds, the people who grew up into things that people considered lame or nerdy, they had way more interests and hobbies than the people who didn't. And I thought that was so interesting to see. But like I said, being a nerd is such a weird experience because now I've actually come to a point where I've noticed that the actual title of nerd and that a lot of these nerdy interests are being gatekept. For some reason, there's a lot of people that, you know, have this elitism when it comes to things to say, oh, you know, I was a nerd back before any of this stuff was cool, you know, I was into this stuff before you even found out about it. You're not a real nerd. I'm a day one nerd and things like that. And while in this you need to nerd out trend, I kind of understood why people were calling people out. Like, come on, man, you can't call yourself a nerd and you're talking about you just like going to Chipotle. We all like going to Chipotle. But like, I've seen people say, oh, you're not a real anime fan if you started watching anime before 2020. Like, what? Or they'll say things like, oh, that thing that you think is nerdy, it's not really nerdy. That's just like basic nerd stuff. Like, if you want to actually call yourself a nerd, you got to really dive into the deep stuff.
I just saw a video of a guy saying he's so glad that he grew up being a nerd, and he showed his bookcase full of Legos and comic books and video games, and it was really wholesome, honestly. Tell me why all of the comments are people being like, actually, Legos and comic books don't make you nerdy. That's actually really mainstream and normal.
Pussy would beg to differ.
And everybody does it. You can call me stupid if you want. I thought that like Legos and comics were like the foundational baseline of being a nerd. Like if you do that, you're kind of like a nerd. Like that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying every nerd reads comic books and play with Legos. I'm like, I thought that was obvious. Am I dumb? I don't know. They were treating the word nerd like it was a slur. They were like, you're not a nerd. Don't ever say that about yourself.
Because whatever, bro. Just whatever.
I'm like, whoa, guys, relax.
And if I'm being honest, I think it all just comes from a place of hurt. I've said over and over in this video that growing up as a nerd was a weird experience, and I've kind of made light of it. But for a lot of people, it did suck so much. Like I already said before, I had friends, I was social, I never got bullied for being a nerd. In fact,
right, and that's what I'm saying. It's a different experience for literally everyone, because depending on the school that you went to, you might not have had that exact same experience with being a nerd or being a black nerd.
In fact, I actually remember a specific moment in high school. A lot of the kids that I went to middle school with, they ended up going to the same high school as me. And some of them, I weren't really friends with them in middle school, but I ended up becoming friends with them in high school. And I remember we were all sitting around talking, and some of them that I was friends with now, they said, yo, Corin, you really used to be so weird in middle school. Like, you used to be into all that anime and all that other stuff. And I remember just sitting there laughing because I'm like, dude, that's still me. Like, I'm still into like all the same nerdy stuff, the creepypastas, the YouTube videos, the anime, the animation stuff. Like none of that stuff ever changed. I guess I presented myself in a different way, so they kind of assumed that I grew out of it. But I'm like, dude, I'm the exact same person. And that was mainly because you could never make me feel bad for liking the things I liked. Like I knew video games were cool, so you could never make me feel bad for liking video games. Or like I knew animation was awesome, so you could never make me feel childish for watching Adventure Time or regular show. In fact, I would go as far as to say, like, if you weren't into the things that I was into, I legitimately felt bad for you. Like, I thought your childhood sucked. Honestly, the biggest struggles I had growing up as a nerd was just the finding people who had the same interests as me and, you know, wanted to be open about it.
And that's valid, you know?
But the amount of people that I met over the years, especially now that I've started making content on the things that I like and, you know, just posting on social media, bro, the amount of people that I've met who have said that they got bullied for liking this stuff, or, you know, like their lives were really hell because of it, is so crazy. And for a lot of people, these nerdy interests, whether it's video games, whether it's a certain media that you watch, whether it's comic books or anything of that nature, maybe cosplay, like a lot of these things were their escape from, you know, being bullied, from, you know, not fitting in. And I guess that's where a lot of the gatekeeping you see comes in, because, you know, like I said, I don't feel no type of way of seeing people that, you know, used to clown on the things that I like getting into it. I actually enjoy it because I always knew this stuff was cool, so people getting into it just validates that I was always right. But I can imagine if you got bullied for it, if people picked on you for, you know, liking anime, for liking things that weren't conventionally considered cool, then I can imagine you seeing these people get into the thing, and that would make you feel some type of way. That would rub you the wrong way. But
yes, I get it.
But as much as it does suck to hear, you kind of just got to move on, man. Like, you know, it's kind of like you were at the bottom at one point. Now the thing that was made you at the bottom is put you at the top. And you can't just like now want to take the role of the bully and try to gatekeep or try to come at people or attack people for being into the interest that you're interested in now. It's kind of like you just got to move on. But I guess if I could end this video on any message, I would say, dude, whatever that thing is that you like out there, whether it's, you know, considered cool, whether it's not considered cool, as long as you like it, bro, stick with it. As long as it's not hurting anyone and you genuinely enjoy it, stick with it. Because I promise you, my life became so much more happier, and I became such a happier person when I stopped worrying about trying to be cool or worrying about what other people think, and just stick with the things that I already enjoyed. Because I'm telling you, when you find things that you genuinely enjoy, whether people think it's cool or not, bro, it will make your life so much better. Because like we talked about earlier in this video, majority of people are boring and have no hobbies and interests. So if you have at least one, you're ahead of most people. So
This is facts. These are facts. These are facts. Listen, I'm Coach Zay. Make sure y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel, merch link in the description, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.